Health, Safety and Environment Committee of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce decided that we needed to look at a road safety campaign aimed at, with the goal of trying to change the behaviors of the road drivers here in Trinidad and Tobago. So we decided the best way to do that was to try and partner with people who are already in the business of road safety. And we approached Arrive Alive and the Ministry of Works and Transport to try and put together a partnership to move forward with a campaign known as, which we tagged as Consider the Consequences. It's a campaign that we just want people to think in terms of risk assessment when they're on the road. Before they make a decision to do something wrong, like maybe shall I chance breaking a red light or speeding because I'm late for a meeting, that they have the mindset of considering the consequences of what can happen if they do that, and that they change that behavior and do the right thing on the roads.
And before I ask you to come in, Mr. Batson, and TTPS as opposed to Arrive Alive, right. But in terms of the work that the road safety campaign is doing,
sure.
And what are some of the things that we're seeing right now from that campaign?
Good. Well, this opportunity, I want to thank you guys actually for having us and just talk about it, because people are going to start to see the signs out, and even for the project to work, you need sponsors. The chamber is also appealing to any sponsors really that want to partner with it. There's a little bit of co-branding involved, and it's trying to share that message. The police, as we keep on emphasizing, there's only so much tickets we're going to write. The highway patrol unit, which I'm attached to, we're the ones that see the worst parts, or we see the end result of bad decision making. The signage project is just an opportunity to remind drivers, listen here, before you decide to change that lane suddenly without checking a mirror or without using an indicator, or use that mobile phone, is it really necessary for you to try and reply to that text while you're driving? Is it really necessary for you to take the call? Even can you wait? Is it really necessary for you to try and take that chance and run across the highway instead of using the walkover facilities? So it's like a behavior-based approach. We're trying to change your culture. If a good example of that is even through the speed enforcement. As you're well aware, we're close to 8,000 tickets being issued already for the speeding offense. And it's interesting because as we go across the country, we ask people when we're doing all these community outreach, how many of you all have gotten speeding tickets? And hands always go up. And that just goes to show the level of enforcement across the country. But two, that the behavior change is coming slowly but surely. People say, yeah, but people still speeding. True. But people are looking at their speedometers. And that's where the change, that never used to happen. So culture change starts to come over time. We've seen success in certain interventions already from an enforcement level. The TTPS has as one of its top strategic objectives improve safety on roadways for risk and harm reduction on the roads itself. So this was a welcome opportunity to try and achieve that objective, which is saving lives and keeping families together. And that's always the ultimate goal.
Now, I see you're talking about signage. I'm wondering what kind of signage is going to happen, because there's some pretty gruesome types of accidents that happen with regard to traffic accidents, and I'm wondering what kind of shape and form is it going to take? How much is too much, especially in a society where we have started to kind of change the idea. You talk about behavior change. It seems as though we started to change the idea of what normal is. So it's very normal for a child to be going to get some eggs and milk in the shop for mommy or auntie or whatever, and they see some kind of pages on the newspaper, the front pages that they're exposed to, and I'm wondering how much are we going to be getting from this campaign?
How much signs? Well, the aim is to try and have 100 signs up by the end of this year. We only have about 7 or 8 so far. As Brent said, we are appealing to corporate sponsors to look at this as a corporate social responsibility program for them. The signs we did send some of the artwork, so I don't know if the messages can be put up on the screen or whatever, but the signs are 8 different messages that became 8 powerful messages that we wanted to start with, although there are many more that can be used. All of them have consider the consequences on them. We want those three keywords to echo in people's minds as they are driving on the roads and going about their everyday lives. Always consider the consequences. The eight signs, three are aimed at correcting reckless and aggressive driving, which is the speeding one, so it's consider the consequences, slow down, and it has some fairly graphic stuff on it. They're nice signs though, they're eye-catching signs. One is aimed at breaking traffic lights, so it's consider the consequences, obey the traffic lights, and one is aimed at driving under the influence, so it's consider the consequences, designate a sober driver. Then the other five are looking at...
Some of which I think we'll actually have on the screen momentarily.
Great, yeah,
Okay.
excellent.
The other five are looking at people who take chances on the road, right? So that's a slow down, yep. One is consider the consequences, don't text and drive. We're trying to get people to put down their cell phones. Some companies have a campaign of engine on, cell phone off, right? Use a child seat and not your lap. So we're looking at people who take the chance of not securing their child properly when they're driving. Consider the consequences, buckle up front and back for using your seat belts. One of my favorites is consider the consequences, don't drive drowsy.
Yeah.
A lot of people take the chance of, they're fatigued, they haven't had a good night's sleep, they have to go and pick up somebody at the airport. Yeah, that's the sign there. And then finally, we're looking at pedestrians very closely as well too. And the last sign is consider the consequences, use a walkover or pedestrian crossing. So don't take the chance of trying to come across the road. So everything is consider the consequences. Try and get those three words echoing as you drive along the roads every day.
Yeah, and it just reinforces that, and this is why we love the message, because there seems to be a disconnect with people regards to, especially motorists, that the repercussions, even when you have that small fender bender and you stop on the highway, that backup of traffic into Port of Spain is, as a good example, just for you all to come out and quarrel first, and you all don't understand what that costs the economy. And that's just a small fender bender. Worse yet, where, like I said, people are, God forbid, injured and killed. The timing of the campaign is perfect coming into the Christmas and Carnival season,
For sure.
where, because we've already lost 104 persons on the road, and just imagine what kind of Christmas, those families are going to have those empty seats on the table. And that's what we don't want. That's what we're fighting to try and change. You use the keyword, social norm. That's what we're trying to change. It used to be a normal thing to drink and drive. Now people think about it because there's a consequence to it. We're trying to change. It's not cool to drink and drive. It's cool to designate a driver. It's not cool to use your phone. It's cool to have a hands-free set or choose not to do it. And that's how you start to change into a more positive, risk-averse culture.
Well, I like the don't drink and drive drowsy as well, or don't drive drowsy, sorry. Because, in what you're talking about with regard to social norms, sometimes people would offer me something to drink, and even though we're going to be there for however long, I still don't want any, because in terms of being a little more tired than you'd want to be, and then having the addition of whatever level of alcohol, and that just kind of slows down reaction. I tell people that I am very afraid to be driving and bumping out of time to the music. It's just because I'm drowsy.
It's not worth it.
In your experience, what are some of the main or the most common causes for fender benders, the accidents that you see on the road?
Well, again, because we have two different main, I would say, we have three different categories of accidents with regards to serious, fatal, and trivial. The majority of accidents are still trivial. They're less than 50 kilometers an hour. It's those small little things where people, if they just exercise a little bit more attention, would have prevented the accident. Rub downs, like I said, failing to check mirrors, stopping without looking behind, giving people clearances, and then in some cases with regards to even pedestrians stepping out traffic without really assessing, the flow rate of the traffic itself. But regards to serious and fatal, without a doubt, it still combines into speeding, alcohol, seatbelt use, and in the case of pedestrians, sometimes reckless use of that roadway. We had that, and I'm sorry to say, because like I said, the family is experiencing that grief, but that pedestrian that made that decision to to cross the road underneath the walkover, and then the motorcyclist was killed as a result of his decision. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Why? You know, we have to go to that root of understanding why would you even think that that is the best option for you when we have this $1 million infrastructure there just to prevent this incident. So we really have to change that thought process.